This guy's the biggest car thief in Brooklyn. Let's be careful.
You scratched my ride.
What the hell are you doing, Tommy?
Driving, bitch.
Get out the car!
Because I'm black?
No, because you're 10.
Fuck.
Whose car is this?
Your mama's.
Go!
Did you just punch a young child?
I'll fuck a little kid up if he kicked me in the dick.
That at least that's what I hope they were thinking.
Right.
But I know the real story. The one guy wouldn't even sit for a fucking poster shoot. So essentially, they have to go like, okay, we got one guy who
names
will.
all of a sudden?
Yeah, everybody knows
All
who
right.
it is. It ain't. Let me put it this way. Remember the really funny guy in the movie? It ain't him. He's a fucking dream.
Welcome to the franchisees.
What a special surprise we have for you today. You know what? Sometimes when I was growing up, my mom would say to me and my brother, "You boys don't know how lucky you are." And I want to repeat that to you listeners today. You have no idea how lucky you are.
Yeah.
No idea.
As this is like, the surprise episode and stuff, there's no way they could have played along.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, rewatched. That's a momentous occasion for the pod, This is our first Kevin Smith movie.
It is our first and certainly not our last.
Definitely not.
But our last for a while, which is good. Small doses.
Yeah. Yeah.
We watched the 2010 film Cop Out.
Yes.
Cop Out.
Cop Out.
Starring Bruce Willis of Die Hard fame and Tracy Morgan of Being Funny fame.
30 Rock.
30 Rock.
Rock's probably his biggest thing, right?
Definitely. Playing Tracy Jordan.
Yeah. It was a big stretch for
big,
him.
huge stretch. And in this film, he again plays a Tracy Morgan-esque character.
They're both just kind of themselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got a bit to say.
We do.
Cop Out.
Okay, so first off, what's the rationale? We had an episode to fill. We wanted to do a little bumper. This is the connection, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Live Free or Die Hard, Die Hard 4.0, Live Moss or Die Hard comes out 2007, starring Bruce Willis, of course, as John McClane, and featuring not just a cameo, but a supporting performance, credited supporting performance from Kevin Smith, our favorite writer, director, actor, producer, editor.
As Warlock.
As Warlock, a digital Jedi. And don't never forget. And he met Bruce Willis on the set, and they apparently hit it off and became chummy.
Yeah. I think he has an anecdote on an Evening with Kevin Smith DVD where on that set he didn't get along with Timothy Olyphant, which is weird because they don't actually ever share the screen together. So I guess they were just...
Maybe at the rap party.
Yeah, at the studio. He just, he had a funny joke where he was like, Timothy Olyphant was just acting like a hotshot. And he was like, "You're the guy from Deadwood who's not Ian McShane."
Whoa.
Yeah, take
Burn.
that,
Yeah.
Timothy, you handsome bastard. But yeah, didn't get along with Timothy, got along great with Bruce. They were like, let's make movie magic together, baby.
Yeah, let's figure it out.
And that film was Cop Out.
And that film was Cop Out, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the connection there.
Mm-hmm.
They even make a little reference to Die Hard in this movie.
Yep.
Which was not funny. I don't think.
That one was not. No.
And I think something important about this movie, maybe what this movie is most well known for, aside from some of the on-set conflicts, which we'll get into in a bit, perhaps the thing that this movie is most well known for, a movie that I think we agree no one has watched other than us since it came out. We're the first people to watch it.
In years.
Surely. And
I can't imagine someone's like, I want to watch Cop Out.
No, and the reason is, the very notable reason is, it's not funny.
It's
bad. There are very shockingly few jokes in this broad comedy.
Yeah.
Directed by noted comedy director and writer Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's next to nothing.
It's kind of crazy how non-comedic it is, because it was certainly sold as such, positioned as such. The original title was A Couple of Dicks.
A Couple of Dicks.
Like with a name like that. And I thought it was going to be like, I remember when this movie came out and there was all this hullabaloo and Kevin Smith himself was like, you got to watch the Red Band trailer because that's a better approximation of what the movie is.
Of course.
And I remember
R-rated
watching,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember watching the Red Band trailer, and it's like they had all the few jokes in that, and they were like, you know, and the fact that the name Cop Out itself was clever because it was going to be called A Couple of Dicks, but it was that
They wouldn't
itself
let
is
him
a
do
cop
it.
out.
Yeah.
Like I remember having hope for this movie.
Same.
And
Totally.
then you watch it, and it's just a total cliche buddy cop film with, like you said, sparingly few jokes. And what's really crazy is I was like, this movie deals in the cliches unironically that like 21 Jump Street so perfectly lampooned. And I thought 21 Jump Street like would have come out years later, like, you know, once this genre had been truly dead and buried. But 21 Jump Street was 2012.
Yeah.
And this is 2010.
Yeah.
So like
The Police Academy movies are from the 80s.
Yeah,
This is so much closer to a straightforward
Yeah.
regular buddy cop movie than it is to a comedy
Satirical.
or a satire or a parody or anything.
It feels more like a 90s cop comedy, like, you know, like Blue Streak or something, but Blue Streak's like way better.
Yeah, Blue Streak has jokes in it.
Yeah, it's really bizarre that so late in the game, in the cinematic genre game, did they make a movie that was so cliched and just so not self-aware.
Well, maybe this is a good point to bring up sort of how this got started, because there are two things. One that you had mentioned to me before that are of note about this in regards to Kevin Smith. It's the first movie, and I think the only movie, that he directed but did not write himself. Yeah. And I was saying when we were watching it, what the fuck is the point of that, right?
Like, what are we doing here, people?
Yeah, Kevin Smith is not, I would say, like a talented director in the sense that he has like a unique sort of visual style or even like any sort of sense of cinematic language. The reason that we may have liked Kevin Smith movies when we were younger, the reason why people still today go to pay a lot of money to go see Clerks 3 as we did to see him, you know, present it to you and do an evening with Kevin Smith or whatever. It's because he's a writer. He's a dialogue-driven writer. And the idea of him directing someone else's script is kind of ludicrous. The other thing is that this was his most successful movie, as you had pointed out. In terms of box office gross. I don't know if that maybe relative to how much Clerks had cost, like that's maybe more successful or whatever.
Yeah, or like Clerks in the long run is probably, generated more income.
Yeah, and so maybe it's possible that this is the movie that this is the Kevin Smith movie that the most people have seen.
In
just
theaters,
because
at
it came out in
least,
theaters and there were probably tons of people who went to it who didn't know who Kevin Smith was or cared, right? So this was a script by Mark and Rob Cullen, two brothers who
were so horrified when Warner Brothers told them Kevin Smith was going to direct their movie.
Yeah, were they?
I don't
They
know,
must
but
have
like,
been, right?
yeah. So these two brothers, they write this script, A Couple of Dicks. For years, it was on the blacklist. You know, Hollywood's.
It made it onto the 2008 blacklist.
And for those of you who don't know,
the
the blacklist are scripts that are circulating around Hollywood that aren't produced, but people are like, oh, we should really produce these.
Yeah, it's a big industry-wide survey. People get to vote, and a lot of those movies that end up on the blacklist are then put into production, and a lot of them become really successful. A lot of them have won. Several of them have won Academy Awards for Best Picture.
Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah, Don't Worry, Darling, which is
surely gonna
nominations coming out soon.
Yeah,
we don't know. We don't know. It's
Harry
not too
Styles, Best Supporting Actor.
It's not too late to call it, right? It could happen. But something else that's funny about the blacklist is a lot of these
are they good?
Movies are bad. Yeah. A lot of the movies that have come out of the blacklist, like it was a thing since I guess whatever 2004, whenever it started. There's been this thing where it's like maybe not in the press materials, but if you're paying attention to movies or whatever, you'll see something come out and then it'll be on the Wikipedia page, or it'll be someone will talk about it at some point. Like, we love this script, it was on the 2006 blacklist and blah blah blah, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I wonder, that must be interesting. And then it's like a piece of shit. So
well, that's what I was thinking. Is like the Cullen brothers, they wrote this, and then
the Coen brothers,
the Cullen.
Oh, sorry,
Cullen brothers.
Right.
I
about it.
I would have loved if this was directed by the Coens, though.
It would have. I wonder.
Because
I wonder.
The script. I bet you, if you read the script, like maybe there's some merit there, and it could have been finagled in a way. But instead, they wrote the script, and it's like, oh, it's finally going to production, and they're like, great, Warner Brothers is producing it. Who's directing? Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
I'd have been pissed. Well,
here's just a kind of a good example of like the blacklist. Like on the 2006 blacklist, it's not like the best screenplays. It's just what are the unproduced screenplays floating around Hollywood that are the most liked, right? So it's there's a huge variety. Like Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay is on there. In Bruges is on there.
Wow.
Life of Pi is on there, right? And then movies that are like totally forgettable, like Lions for Lambs or The Men Who Stare at Goats or whatever.
All right.
Seven Psychopaths.
He had both of them.
She's Out of My League. But then There Will Be Blood or Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story, or Superbad. Like those are all from the same year. So it's like a I guess viewing it as like a mark of quality is like it's not really a good way of looking at it.
Well, that's
from script to screen. There's a lot has to happen, right?
Totally, and I think that plays a big part in it. Like the big movie industry ecosystem is a lot more complex, and there's a lot more stages before something gets made, and a lot of opportunity to ruin the pie.
Yeah.
By sticking a lot of fingers and other things.
A couple of dicks.
Yeah. Just flat out pooping on the pie.
Yeah. Yeah, you could make a poop pie. The Help, I haven't seen it, but I know there's a poo pie in that movie.
Is there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Don't they make somebody eat a pie made of poo? I
haven't seen it either.
I mean, yeah. So when that came out, it was like, I'm not gonna touch that Oscar bait bullshit. Like it looked terrible, and I, excuse me, never did. But then I heard there was a poo pie that a character eats a pie with poo in it.
My interest is piqued.
Yeah, I know. We should probably watch it. The Help 2 is coming out. So
is that real?
Yeah.
Really?
You're so gullible.
Oh yeah. No,
I've always got you on the hook.
Us gullible folk, we prefer the term trusting.
Yes.
That's the PC term for gullible fucking idiots.
You're trusting.
Yeah, we should watch The Help.
Yeah, great. Why not? Well, sometimes we just got to get together and watch a good movie that we like.
We haven't done that.
Yeah. There's a little quote here from Kevin Smith on the Wikipedia. Kevin Smith on why he wanted to direct the film.
Okay.
Right? The real answer is probably he wanted to, I don't know, maybe they offered it to him, or maybe he wanted to work with Bruce Willis or whatever. But this is what he said about the Cullen brothers script. It really does sound like Coen Brothers.
It does when you said it just then.
Maybe that's why they were successful.
They tricked people.
Yeah.
I got this great script by the Cullens.
Like that Bill Murray story where he's like, I signed on to do Garfield because it was Ethan Cohen. He thought it was Ethan Cohen, but
funny.
It was yeah. Anyway, from Kevin Smith. The Cullen brothers are dialogue crazy. The whole movie is like cops who are practically married, but not actually. And I mean, that's right up my alley. It's like Dante and Randall as cops.
It's funny that he says that, because when we were watching this movie, and you are supposed to get the vibe that Jimmy Monroe, Bruce Willis, and Paul Hodges.
Wow, well done.
Tracy Morgan.
Amazing recall.
I take this shit seriously, Ben.
I mean, very impressive.
I'm in this to win this. In Pod we trust.
Yeah, you win, man. That's great.
But they're supposed to be partners for a really long time and have this great rapport and joke around and make fun of the other cops. But we were watching it, and it was just they have no chemistry together whatsoever. They just look like Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan on a set. There's like no sense of camaraderie or friendship or
No.
like there's a scene, there's a
nothing.
subplot about Bruce Willis's daughter getting married, and there's a scene where they go to dinner and Tracy Morgan comes with them and says hello to Bruce's daughter. She like hugs him like he's
Uncle Paul. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to believe. Like in that brief moment, Michelle Trachtenberg, who plays the daughter, has way more camaraderie, and like I kind of believe that she was close to Tracy Morgan. I don't believe that Tracy Morgan was close to Bruce Willis.
No.
I don't even believe that Michelle Trachtenberg was close to Bruce Willis.
I don't know if anyone is, you know? I'm
That's
not sure.
true, yeah.
Like, and this is exactly what we were saying. Bruce Willis, I get, it's funny because this is like right in between Live Free or Die Hard and Die Hard 5, or Good Day to Die Hard. I don't think he's not quite as comfortable as he is in Live Free or Die Hard, where he still is giving a performance, and then he's not quite as comfortable in the bad way, in the bad sense of the word, in Good Day and Die Hard, where he's literally walking through the movie being like, I don't really care, like nothing can really kill me, I'm invincible. And in this one, he's like a little out of his element, but for the most part, what's notable is that he's giving one of those kind of Bruce Willis like non-performances. He's just kind of Bruce Willis. And I guess he's sort of doing a John McClane thing. He's sort of doing a whatever tough guy thing, but he's not really doing anything. And Tracy Morgan, on the other hand, is doing like the full Tracy Morgan, Tracy Jordan style character.
He's like, you hired me to get the Tracy Morgan laugh
and like,
style, and you're going to get it.
He's the best and only good part of the movie.
Pretty much.
He's like very consistently funny.
He's trying.
Yeah, that's what I want to say though, is that like the lines and the jokes that he's delivering aren't funny, but his delivery is very funny.
Yeah.
He's just like naturally extremely funny, and he's the only reason this was bearable. It was like tough to get through, I thought. And every time he says something, it's at the very least it's like, well, okay, at least somebody like funny who is like trying and like giving a shit is like is on screen, you know.
Totally.
Because Bruce isn't giving us a lot, and then Kevin Smith, like, I don't know, man. I don't know how much had to change from script to screen. Like, there must have been jokes in this movie before. I don't know. I'm not sure what happened, but none of the jokes land. With like a rare exceptions maybe, which we'll get into. Yeah. But and Kevin Smith, like, not an interesting director, right? He's not doing anything. He's not presenting this material to us in any way.
It's so
right. So
paint by numbers, but like a really bad paint by numbers. Like, there was a moment where there were a few moments that I just kind of like cringed at or had big eye roll moments from what's going on visually. But like, Bruce Willis goes to like hop a chain link fence, and you see him like approach the fence, and then it cuts to the other side of the fence, and like with someone landing, but even that's not done like super well. And it was just like, okay, couldn't even shoot someone going over a fence. Or like Adam Brody, who plays like one of the rival cops, the snooty young rival cops. There's a scene where like he slides across a car's hood, and they do it in like a bit of slow-mo, and it's just like when Adam Brody sliding over a car's hood is like your big kind of showstopper marquee action moment. Just kind of sad.
Well, yeah, and I think that speaks to the larger problem of this movie too, that you were getting at with the comparison to the Jump Street movies. Like, this is a comedy, right? It's being presented to us as a comedy, and maybe not a parody or like a satire, but at least like a funny view at like cops, right? So aside from all of the complete like lack of jokes, the way that the material is presented to us isn't funny in and of itself in any way either. It's so much closer to like a straightforward, like low grade cop movie than it is to anything else. That like if they had gone even a little further into making it like just a regular cop movie, that might have actually been funny, right? Like imagine if they even the little few tiny jokes they had now, what if they took all of those jokes out? And what if they were just
That's
like
interesting.
The big joke is that
It's a police procedural.
It's just a regular police procedural
with Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis.
And they're both like dead serious.
That's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny, right? See, I should direct a movie.
Yeah, I think you totally should.
It's called A Couple of Dicks.
That was going to be the name of this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it might as well be.
Yeah. To me, it drew the most like analogous comparisons in my mind, in my memory, to Showtime with Eddie Murphy and Robert De Niro.
Wow, it's a good pull.
But
no one has thought of that movie in a long time either.
I remember I rented it.
Yeah, me too.
That was a very rent-core film.
What a shame.
But I bet you Showtime probably holds up a bit better. At least I remember Showtime had like some interesting.
I mean, it's got Robert De Niro in it.
It's got Bobby De Niro.
Eddie Murphy probably has a couple of funny jokes.
And I remember like the whole crux of that movie was that like they were selling like super powered guns, and at the end they like shoot one of these guns into the ceiling, but there's like a pool above them in some fancy like condo. So then like there's like a big water flood through the ceiling, which was probably an interesting set piece.
Maybe. Yeah.
More interesting than anything in Cop Out.
There's nothing.
There's no set pieces in Cop Out, really.
No. And like it's almost like a benefit that there's nothing, because you just know that like if there was anything interesting in this movie, Kevin Smith would just fuck it up. So it's kind of nice that there's nothing.
Well, I noticed
like, it's so boring.
When we saw Clerks 3, Kevin Smith edited that. I assume he edits a lot of the View Askew movies.
I think he edits most of his movies. Yeah.
He edited this too.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that A should probably change. But B, I also wonder if it's like, because his films are so visually uninteresting, like maybe he's embarrassed to kind of like give someone else the reins and edit, because they'd just be like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, but even still, like he's editing it and he makes these like some really weird, bad editing calls that are like a bit disorienting, or just they feel a bit lazy. So it's very strange. It's the Kevin Smith machine. It's a bit of a trip.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, like I had never seen this movie before, and neither had you, right?
I watched it.
Oh,
like
you did?
I half watched it years ago.
Okay.
Because like I remember, I didn't see it in theaters, but I was like curious enough, and around the time it came out, like we were saying, I think Kevin Smith was still kind of in my good books, and I was interested in what he would do. So I watched it, and I had this memory that it's weirdly unfunny.
Yeah, I mean, your memory is correct. I hadn't seen it before. I think I went to go see Zach and Miri make a porno.
I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, in theaters. And I remember, I liked it. I'm sure I wouldn't maybe like it as much now.
Yeah.
But I think at that point, I'm still like 18, 19 or whatever, still kind of in that zone where like you liked Kevin Smith a lot in high school, and you still have some fondness for him. You still want him to succeed. I think even at that time I was listening to the Smodcast, which is of course the reason why we're podcasters today.
Yeah. We're the Scott Mosier and Kevin Smith of our time.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Smith and you're Scott Mosier.
I'm
Snoogans. Fuck, I really couldn't remember. My wife and I are fucking like we're in high school. She pones my brown area and my taint. Like, remember when he said that?
What's Scott Mosier like?
Scott Mosier's like, yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know.
Cool, dude.
Here, now you're Kevin Smith and I'm Scott Mosier. Go.
Oh, snoochie boochies, man. And then these cats were like, yo, you got to make a movie. And, I was smoking my weed.
Yeah, totally. I also, sometimes I smoke weed.
Sick.
I don't know what he does.
I smoke weed.
Well, Scott Mosier, I think was I don't think they still collaborate on films anymore, and
I wonder why.
I wonder why. Yeah, and I think Scott Mosier was probably part of the reason why Kevin Smith's movies were good, like some of the good ones. And by good, I mean, like nostalgia hat firmly on,
Not to like ruffle feathers either, but the
Yeah.
Weinsteins too.
yeah.
Well,
I'm sure Harvey Weinstein's great taste.
They produced a lot of his movies.
Yeah, but they
and-
produced all sorts of shit.
Yeah,
right?
maybe
I mean,
they just forced his hand a bit to be better.
I can't imagine that being true.
We're only hypothesizing here. Who knows?
No, I'm not. No, I'm telling you. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be historically one at least one instance where Harvey Weinstein had a good note for a movie, but I think more often than not,
It was Bob.
well, I don't know. I actually don't know much about Bob. Maybe it was all Bob.
Yeah, it's
But
possible.
from what I understand, most of the things that he wanted, and most of the things that we're talking about his career, right? Like his editing, not his his other career as like a serial rapist.
Right.
From what I understand, he had terrible taste and made terrible decisions,
Yeah, I can picture
and
that.
all of the good directors hated him. Right?
You're telling me Harvey Weinstein was a belligerent fucking moron?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't believe it.
Hot take.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. Well, this is a good point to bring up the some of the on-set, behind-the-scenes drama, right?
Yeah,
of
sure.
this movie. We mentioned that Kevin Smith met Bruce Willis on Live Free or Die Hard. They didn't have a good time making this movie, unfortunately. And on an episode of WTF with Mark Maron in 2011, so pretty shortly after this came out, Smith talked about being disappointed working with Bruce Willis, and then on the other hand, how satisfied he was working with Tracy Morgan, which makes sense, and you can see it in the film.
Yeah.
Smith stated that one of the reasons that he agreed to direct the film was because he wanted to work with Bruce Willis. And he says that Willis, quote, wouldn't even sit for a fucking poster shoot, and that, quote, were it not for Tracy, I might have killed either myself or someone else in the making of fucking Cop Out. So, wow. Yeah.
Strong words.
Okay. Strong words. Hitting back from the other side. A nice backhand return from a talent rep associated with the production of the film. Quote, saying of Kevin Smith, he smokes way too much pot. He sat behind his monitor. He didn't interact with the actors. The actors felt they were on his own. And then Smith said, I dealt with every actor who wanted to be dealt with on that set. And blah, 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 blah. Anyway, something that's important is that Zach and Miri Make a Porno 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when he hooks up with Seth Rogen. And that's when he sees Seth Rogen smoking pot as like a creative tool. And Kevin Smith, for the first time in his life, I remember because I was listening to Smodcast and he talked about pot all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's before Kevin Smith on pot and after.
No, it's weird.
It's totally weird.
Because he really was like a guy who'd never smoked weed until he got to university and then started smoking weed, and all of a sudden like
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
and he had like all the like trippy posters and stuff, and was watching
Well,
all the like subversive movies, and
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
hey, have you ever smoked pot? Like,
Yeah, he except like it was in his 40s or whatever,
Yeah, no, it
right?
was super
it's like
cringe.
he would drink, I guess, and maybe I think he had smoked pot before, but he was never like a stoner.
yeah, which was weird because Jay and Silent Bob were like stoner
Or stoners,
icons.
yeah, totally. And so yeah, like he gets really into pot, and then I remember just listening to the show, and it was like he would be talking about getting high all the time and writing his scripts, but then getting distracted by watching like clips of like Wayne Gretzky playing hockey, and then getting further down a rabbit hole of being like, you know what? And then he's watching documentaries about Wayne Gretzky's father, Walter Gretzky, and he's crying. He's like sitting in his chair, like blubbering about like what a great father Walter Gretzky was. And then it's like, yeah, and then I forgot to write my script. It's like
Maybe we're looking for all these scapegoats and who to blame. Maybe it was sweet lady Mary Jane.
it might have been, yeah. Sorry to say it.
It's like not, yeah, like you said, like Zack and Miri wasn't like that great, but I remember watching and having a laugh.
I liked it at the time. I haven't seen it since. Who knows?
I remember when it came out, there was like an article about him in some magazine, and I read it, and they actually had an excerpt of the script. Well, this was before Zack and Miri came out, and it was I remember it was the moment where Zack and Miri are talking about Oprah having a sex tape. And it's like,
I don't remember that.
It's like if Oprah like said she was going to come out with a sex tape, like you better believe I'd watch it. And and just reading the script, and I remember reading that and like laughing at it and being like, oh yeah, like this sounds like Kevin Smith. I can't wait to see Seth Rogen deliver these lines.
Yeah.
And then, and then the movie came out, and that scene happened in the movie, and I remember like there was something about it that just like wasn't as funny as like reading it, but
as it was in your head,
as it was in my head.
Yeah.
But again, like, yeah, I think it was okay, but yeah, maybe it's all Seth Rogen's fault, that fucking gateway drug of a man. Dude,
I mean, you know, we've talked about how the toking of the kind herb, you know, has a stranglehold over us, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I certainly have had problems with smoking weed all the time. Every day for like, I don't know, like 10 years or longer. And in many ways, I think some of the things Kevin Smith talks about when he talks about weed, I can relate to that. I can identify with how good it makes you feel when other things in life are preventing you from feeling good.
Yeah.
But of course, therein lies the problem.
But sometimes it's the opposite. Like I got way too high last night, and
bro,
yeah,
bro, you know what I'm talking about.
But I haven't smoked in a while, and when I have been smoking, it's been like weed my friends grow, which is great because they suck at growing weed, so it's very mild stuff,
it's chill.
Right?
Yeah.
But I had some of that government dank last night. And
it's, you know why it's so strong? It's because it has mold on it because they're shitty at growing it too, just in a different way.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But I smoked basically one of those, you know, government cannons to myself, and I saw I went to the Cass McCombs show last night at the Great Hall. Cassius McCombs.
Yeah, got to get high.
Cassandra McCombs.
Yeah.
And I thought of you because it was a lot more jammy than I was expecting.
Yeah, like fish.
Yeah, he jammed out on a few tracks, and then before starting, just like a relatively like chill, mildly upbeat like country-esque song, he would like just go on like a post-rock like noise exploration beforehand, which sounded great. I was actually way more into the weird noise rock excursions that he was doing. But I was so high that basically me and my friend, we walked into the Great Hall at around 7 p.m. and there are no seats. So we were basically standing till we left at like 11 p.m. So I was just standing for 4 hours. And weed really makes you aware of how uncomfortable you are sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, my feetsies. Like I really wish I could just like sit down.
Oh, totally. That's my number one problem at concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opening band was their keyboardist actually played with Cass McCombs, but they were just straight up like a jazz trio, instrumental like jazz odysseys, and they were called Columbo, which also made me think of you because of our friend Peter Falk.
Yeah, friend of the pod, Columbo. He comes onto the pod every now and again to solve little murders that happen in the studio here and there.
Totally.
Yeah. That's not how he sounds. Just one more thing. I'm just a little guy. You've seen that Columbo meme, right? It's like, no. I'm just a little guy. He's just a little guy.
Yeah, he's
you know
a little
what I'm
guy.
talking about.
He's a cute little guy.
He's a cute little guy.
Peter Falk.
Yeah. Oh, I love Columbo. Oh, man. It should be Columbo cast. Maybe next podcast we'll do Columbo cast.
Okay.
Going through every episode of Columbo. There's like 1,000 of them.
You know, I was thinking
it's not a bad idea.
It would be fun to do like, because we're always fucking talking about the Simpsons.
Yeah.
It would be fun to do Simpsons cast where we go from old Simpsons all the way into like new Simpsons.
There's like how many millions of I mean, I know it's funny because you know this.
Oh, wait, are you telling me that exists?
Yeah, of course it exists.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah,
One
but
original
podcast
idea.
exists about going through franchises, and they're all terrible except this one,
That's true.
right?
Yeah, our team did market research.
Right, guys? Somebody answer me, right?
Somebody reach out,
Guys, right?
thefranchiseespod@gmail.com.
Tell us that we're right.
Please.
Please.
Also, if you don't already and you're listening, like, subscribe. I think on Spotify it's follow, and on Apple it's like subscribe or whatever.
Yeah, something
Please
like
do
that.
it. It helps us out. It gets us. If somebody searches movie franchise podcast review show, the more traction and subscribers we have, the more likely we'll pop up first.
Yes, important. Very important. Again, if you have anything negative to say, don't put it out
Save
there.
it.
Save it.
Email
it directly to us.
Thefranchiseespod@gmail.com.
We will read it
on air.
On air.
We'll do it.
And we'll say your name. We'll dox you
Yeah.
live on air. We'll swat you. We'll do
Yeah.
all that shit. While we're on the subject, and this seems like a good opportunity to talk about weed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, man?
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm talking about now let me lay this on you. Have you ever heard of this? 420.
Ooh, Hitler's
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah, right? Columbine massacre. Cool day.
No shit,
yeah,
really?
Man,
Holy
bro.
fuck.
We're talking about smoking. We're talking about vaping. We're talking about edibles, man.
Welcome to 420 cast.
Yeah. Let me hear your best typical stoner guy voice. Let's lay it on me.
Oh no. Why'd
Yeah,
you
put
me
you right on the
yeah.
spot.
Oh, dude, we're gonna like rip
Yeah.
some fat shatter in my dab rig, bro.
Exactly, man.
Munchy crunchies.
Munchy crunchies. That's exactly it, man.
Fucking, I got a copy of Buffalo 66 on
That's good.
That's the line in the Wet Leg song. I've been listening to Wet Leg, and that's the only
They
funny
got a
DVD
Buffalo 66 song?
reference. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's dope.
It's a funny movie to reference.
Yeah.
It's a funny movie. I like Buffalo 66. It's made by a strange man.
Yeah, I was once. I went on a few dates with a woman
With
who,
Vincent Gallo.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
but this woman,
Oh.
she reached out to Vincent Gallo at some point as a joke.
Oh.
And then he actually like replied or something and was
Yeah,
like,
you don't
"Do you
joke-
want to have sex with me?" Or something?
You don't
Yeah.
joke around with Vincent Gallo. Did she go on a date with him?
No,
or?
no.
Yeah, no. You did.
They just had a correspondence for a bit.
Yeah, you really want to stay away from that.
Yeah, 100%.
That seems like a good fantasy to have in the safety of your own home.
Yeah. Don't give Vincent Gallo any information about yourself.
Probably-
he'll find you.
Yeah, probably not. Okay, on the subject of Kush.
Give
you
me
know?
your best fucking devil's lettuce
Yeah.
tail.
Well, no, I mean, just by of course, you smoke weed for long enough, you're gonna do some. You're gonna have some stories. I'm not gonna talk about weed stories here and there and this and that. What I am gonna talk about is what you were talking about. You get too high and you're doing something. In this case, because this is a movie podcast, I've got just one or two quick things about getting too high and going to see a movie. Okay, there are, I guess, two things specifically. And these are definitely both times when I realized, a few years ago, definitely, and I quit smoking weed like permanently, 3 or 4 months ago. And I'm sure I'll do it again at some point.
Nope,
But for
I
now,
won't let you.
yeah, okay.
Because I care about you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thanks, man. Fuck you. You're cool. Oh yeah.
Oh,
right.
you got it.
Your own
That's
deals,
too
yeah.
perfect. That's too perfect. But another thing that really pissed me off about Cop Out, because
Yeah.
we're talking about Cop Out.
Yeah, man.
They got Guillermo Diaz, the guy who
Yes.
plays Scarface in Half Baked, that guy.
Yes.
And it's not a comedic role. He just plays
not
the
really.
menacing Latin gangster, and he doesn't have any jokes. He's like actually just meant to play the villain and be the unhinged crazy guy who scares you. And it's fucking bizarre that you would cast Scarface from Half Baked,
Yeah.
Guillermo Diaz, in like a completely
very stereotypical role and then they make a joke where it's like, you're a cartoon, and then that's like, well, okay, I guess if you mention that the stereotype is a stereotype, then it's like funny, man. But
Right.
no, it's not funny. And I think that's actually the thing, is that aside from Tracy Morgan, nobody, even the characters that are, even the actors that are cast in more explicitly comedic roles,
Kevin Pollak.
no one is really funny.
No, they
Nobody's
don't have
funny.
jokes.
There's no jokes. Nobody's funny. Oh yeah, the only
Sean
time
William Scott.
the only time I heartily laughed is when Tracy Morgan gets kicked in the dick by from a little kid, and then
who's
he's
a car
down.
robber.
Yeah, who's a carjacker, and he's down on the ground like holding his dick and balls, and then he punches the kid in the balls
in retaliation.
In retaliation, which was funny.
So funny.
It's funny when kids get hurt,
And that's like the first scene in the Red Band trailer. Like
Naturally.
the trailer did have all the like actual jokes in it, and then you watch the movie and it's kind of a barren wasteland of humor.
Yeah, and I think. Oh shoot, what was I gonna say?
You were talking about weed.
No, but I'll cut this out. But hey guys, this is Ben here, coming in after the fact. I remembered what I was going to say. It was that Cop Out. It's a very 2010 sort of idea of making this comedy about awful cops who torture their suspects and stuff. It's just very dated, and that type of humor back then, like only in 2010 or the late 2000s, could a awful cops comedy like this be on the blacklist. You know what I mean?
Before we get back to weed, and while we're still shitting on Cop Out,
Yeah.
and in an effort to jog Ben's memory,
Yes.
I'll talk about some of the things that I thought were really fucking lame about this movie.
Yes, please.
They, throughout it, they just randomly cut to these scenes with the gangsters, and they're just like ganglang execution scenes. No humor at all, just like meant to be very scary and menacing and serious.
No jokes.
And I guess like maybe the joke is that they're doing this over like a baseball card. Like Guillermo Diaz is a baseball collector, and Bruce Willis was going to sell this rare card to pay for his daughter's wedding, but Sean William Scott robs them, and then he gives the card for drugs, and it's a whole wild goose chase. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds fun to me.
Yeah, it's really funny. But then, they just cut to these executions, and I guess it's funny because it's happening over a baseball card, but it's still very jarring and unpleasant. At the beginning of the film, Tracy Morgan wants to do like the bad cop in a good cop, bad cop routine. And Bruce Willis is like, every time you do this, you just go in and you quote movies. And Tracy Morgan goes in and does it. And watching Tracy Morgan, quote random movies, and he's not even doing cop movies at certain points. He's doing like Star Wars and stuff like that. It's fun. It's a cute idea. In execution, it's kind of sloppy. It's got some weird editing choices. That's the moment where Tracy Morgan goes, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker," and Bruce Willis goes, "I've never seen that one."
Yeah, really funny.
Meta.
Yeah, huge.
But
Lots of laughs.
and Bruce Willis is just behind the interrogation window being like, "Oh, now you're doing this movie? Now that's Star Wars? Like now you're doing Serpico?" It's got a lot of those moments where it's like Tracy Morgan will say something outlandish, and then the joke is someone reacting to him and being like, "That's outlandish." You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's 90% of the jokes. Yeah.
And that's never very fun. There's a great shot of some expository audio just over B-roll footage of New York, just to like connect the dots between one scene and another. It's so low effort, and it's not a good movie.
No.
I'm just going to say it. I didn't really like this movie.
No. Anyway, back to the weed story. In regards to movies, two instances in 2018 and then in 2019, where I was like, my relationship to weed, I think, changed. Where I realized maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore in the way that I'm doing it. One of them was to go see the movie Mandy, the Nick Cage movie. You ever see that?
Oh yeah, I did see that.
So like, okay, obvious movie to like smoke weed and go watch, right? I even saw the other day someone being like, "Man, I can't believe I didn't get to see Mandy high on weed." It's like, yeah, okay, cool, dude. You're not missing. I mean, you could easily replicate that.
Was that a Kevin Smith tweet?
Yeah. God. She pwned my taint. Mandy really pwned my taint in my brown area. No. So this was like shortly after weed was legalized. For a long time, before weed was officially made legal in Canada, in Toronto, there were a lot of gray market dispensaries that just opened up. So it was like functionally legal. Nobody was really, the cops would bust these places, but basically you could just go into a store and buy weed for a while. And it was the wild, wild west, as we were saying. And those times, a lot of unregulated stuff, edibles that were like 300, 400 milligrams, which is like hilarious. Now you have to go in and pay, depending on where you go, like for illegal Ontario government weed, $10 per 10 milligrams, which means if you have a higher tolerance, you want to, do 50 milligrams. Like unless you buy it through some other province or you buy it on the gray market, like you're paying $50, which sucks. So anyway, this was, I think, maybe the first movie that I went to go see right after it was like officially legal. And I saw it at Yonge and Dundas, and there used to be this little like area where everybody would smoke weed before you go see. It's like a good little tucked away place in Yonge and Dundas that I remember people called it Little Jamaica, which is like, but it's like an alley and there's a little like corner. And if you go in there, like a lot of people are using a lot of drugs. There's a lot of paraphernalia. It's kind of not the nicest little corner you'd want to be at with all these needles around and all this junk. But so I'm walking over there and then I'm like, wait a minute, like I don't have to go there. I can smoke weed wherever I want. And I'm like, And I used to smoke weed all the time and reek of weed all the time, like walking around the city, going to movies, going to shops, probably people being like, this guy's high as hell. He smells like weed. His eyes are red. He's wearing sunglasses, whatever it is, right? And I'm smoking weed in the middle of Yonge and Dundas Square, just being like, this is kind of a novelty, right? And I go up to the Yonge and Dundas Theater, which is kind of an intimidating theater. Lots of elevators. It's a big. It's Yonge and Dundas is like the shitty off-brand Times Square of Toronto, and it's a total hellhole. Like just like lots of ads, lots of overstimulation, and
all the worst parts of Times Square, and none of the good parts of Times Square. There's not even a freaking M&M store. Yeah, true. Yeah. Like give us a big novelty, like Bubba Gump Shrimping Company, like restaurant or something. Yeah, but there's nothing like that.
There's a Shoppers Drug Mart.
Yeah.
There's the Eden Center, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, as I'm going in there, I'm starting to have like a panic attack, and I'm like, oh, and this happened every now and again with weed, but usually I was able to kind of, outthink it, right? And kind of get ahead of it. But I was having a panic attack, and I realized I was having a panic attack because I was like, weed is legal now. So like for some reason or another, before when it wasn't, I didn't really care if anybody thought I was high because I was like, yeah, I'm high, whatever. Like I'm a stoner, And after it was legal, like I started to become really like self-conscious of it, where I was like, I don't want anyone to know I'm high because it's just like, well, I wouldn't want to be stinking drunk in public necessarily either.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to give off a bad impression or whatever. I don't know. I just got really in my head over basically nothing. Like nothing had really fundamentally changed between like a month ago when it wasn't legal and I went out high and then like now, but I couldn't handle it. And there were a lot of people in the theater and I was like, I just got so in my head. And sometimes, and even still today, sometimes this will happen in the theater where I become really conscious of my breathing and then I can't breathe. So, it's a panic attack thing where you're like, and then I'm breathing really loudly and people are like looking at me and like, I'm by myself. So just very bad vibes. Right. So that's sort of when I started to be like, okay, well, I probably shouldn't do that again. But of course I did it again. A year later, probably less than a year later, Avengers Endgame comes out. And I saw, I don't really like these movies, right? I saw Avengers Infinity War. I'm like, okay, that actually was probably one of the more interesting ones because they all die at the end and it's like kind of fun. So I'm like, all right, I feel like a sense of obligation to go see Avengers Endgame. So I go to, I believe, the Scotiabank Theater this time. And I thought, well, great opportunity to get fucked up and watch this movie. So I bought one of the gray market chocolate bars. The edibles that I think the entire chocolate bar is like somewhere between 200 and 250 milligrams of THC, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm eating the chocolate and I'm ready to go. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? I could probably eat more. And then I'm not really thinking about it, but I end up eating like the whole chocolate bar, right? I had one of the most severe panic attacks I've ever had, like anywhere. And I happen to have it in this movie theater. And
during Endgame.
During this, like, during a terrible, just like this movie that I don't really have any memory of anymore, you know, because it's like all wrapped up in this like horrifying,
panic
like,
attack,
like psychotic break. And I'm gripping the seat rests, you know, and they in that movie, they kill Gamora. And I was like, I don't give a shit about any of these. I didn't know any of these characters. And I was like, no, like, how could they do that? And I'm just so, and again, it's my breathing. I can't focus on it. And I was like, I was about to leave. I basically was like, I have to leave. Like, I should just leave and I'll just catch up with this later. It's not important. But I was able to kind of talk myself through it, and I finished the movie and I was okay. But those were two instances where I saw movies where I was like, I've done way too much weed and I'm way too high and I'm really uncomfortable. So then by the time that Rise of Skywalker came around and I wanted to do something similar, I decided I'm just going to get really drunk. And so I got really stinking drunk during that and then had to pee for the last like 45 minutes. And then as soon as it ended and it's like, ba-dum, 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 you know, the end of the Star Wars, I stood up and I yelled just to clear the row, because it was like partway in the row. I stood up, I left all my stuff, like my jacket and my backpack and everything. And I stood up and I yelled, I gotta pee! Like Forrest Gump, like, I gotta pee. and people were like, okay. And I ran out and I had such a satisfying pee, and then I stumbled back in and like they're cleaning up the theater and I like grabbed my stuff like, I'm sorry, I gotta pee. I had to pee.
That's so funny.
Anyway, don't do drugs, man.
You did the Forrest Gump voice, so that's $1 in the Gump jar.
That's $1 in the Gump jar. I really didn't want to do it, but I had to. I'm gonna do it one more time.
Edibles are dangerous, man.
It's a ride.
Not even like going out and doing stuff. I've like done edibles and come home and just like wrestled with my psyche and been like, okay, this is not when we have a break. This is not when we have a break.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to like it. I could almost feel the pressure in my head, like, oh, my mind's bending. It's gonna break.
My mind is gone.
Yeah, Daisy.
Daisy.
No, it's. I'll share some of my terrifying edible theater stories another time.
Yeah, we'll go on. We have plenty of. I have no shortage of embarrassing things that I did in public due to drugs. Yeah, not fun.
Just like Cop Out.
Just like Cop Out. Yeah. Anyway,
I think we're done talking.
We're done talking about Cop Out.
Yeah.
We want to talk about something else, something that's also it's maybe a little bit more interesting than Cop Out. I certainly hope so. And that would be
our favorite films of 2022.
Good. I'm glad. I was about to say 3, and I remember.
I had to think about it for a second.
2022. That's last year. Some of you might say, and it's 2023. You know, full speed ahead. Well, guess what? Sometimes you got to fill in a couple of, especially for me, who like I really like doing these lists, and there are a couple of things I really wanted to see before we put it out there. And now that we have a podcast, it's like you got to drop your little your best of list, right?
Absolutely, force it upon the listener.
So Alex, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I feel like my list is going to be far shorter. I realized when I was going through my Letterboxd, the Wizza on Letterboxd, all one word, WZA, like the RZA or the Jizza from Wu-Tang.
Yep.
I haven't seen very many movies that actually came out in like 2022, like maybe 15 or so. And a lot of them I didn't really care for at all.
Yeah, it's a lot of bad movies this year.
But I do have like a top 6 and then like a bottom 5 of movies that I like enjoyed.
Yeah.
Some respected way more than others.
Well, let's start with the positives.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it. So the movies in kind of like my bottom 5, which like I watched and I liked and admired, but the top 6 were just slightly better in my book.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm holding a book.
Yeah, he is.
There was a movie that we were at the same screening of, The People's Joker.
Oh yeah.
That was
Yeah.
like a fun. It was like an
There's gonna
Adult
be some
Swim
crossover here. Yeah.
collage. I'll let you cover it, but it was really interesting. It's by the editor of Tim and Eric's most recent show, Beef House. She's
Yes.
actually the editor on that.
Yeah,
or
very
they
thrilled.
are.
Yeah.
And it was, it's like a cross between like memes and a Batman movie, but it's obviously like tongue in cheek and is good. I credit where credit's due. I know I briefly mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but I did watch Glass Onion, and I had a lot more fun watching Glass Onion than I did Knives Out. I thought it was funnier, and I was just a bit more engaged. So props to that.
Yep. Yeah, and you saw it on
I just saw
Netflix,
it.
right?
Yeah, I saw it on Netflix.
Did you watch it with anybody?
Yeah, I watched it with Katie, my
Nice.
partner.
It's fun. It plays well with other. Like it's a fun thing to do, right?
And I like that it's named after the Beatles song. I'm giving a props to The Northman.
The Northman.
The Northman. I like Robert Eggers. I like that. I loved The Witch and The Lighthouse, and I thought it was really cool to still see traces of his style, like the dense, accurate to the time language and stuff like that. It was like not going like major leagues, but it was like when an artist on like an indie label like captured tracks like makes it to Sub Pop or something like that and has a bit more cash to burn. And it's a shame it wasn't a hit, but I'm excited to see him kind of go back to smaller scale stuff. My final in the kind of like bottom, and my final in the bottom 4, it's no particular order, is Crimes of the Future.
Yes.
David Cronenberg's weird little human bodies as art film.
Yes.
Had
great movie.
fun watching it.
Totally.
These are my top 6 films. In no real order, but I think number 1 is number 1, but we'll see.
Ooh. I like that. I'll try to pick like a definitive number 1 for you too, even though I can't really, but I'll try.
Okay.
I'm gonna try. It's not possible. I'm not gonna be able to do it.
Here's one I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
Nope.
Love Nope.
I thought
man.
Get Out was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I thought it suffered from being overrated. I don't like Us. I thought Us made no sense, and and I'm okay with ambiguity and surreal stuff, but it also tried to explain it, and it's like that's just a death trap for me. Like it makes no sense, but he tried, and
Yeah,
I just
I
couldn't.
understand.
I
I
couldn't do
understand.
it. But Nope, like a way more simple idea, just executed what I thought like really well, like some of his best direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe a deceptively simple idea because there's so much going on in Nope. I've seen it twice now, I think, and it's just like such a rich movie. Like,
Yeah.
I like Get Out and Us quite a bit, but I think Nope is by far his best movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean, but I almost like think it's deeper in ways that he didn't intend, because I've seen him talk about.
No, he definitely did.
No, the stuff about like, it's about like America's relationship to spectacle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like that stuff's so obvious, but like I like the stuff that's more about like, predatory animals and
Yeah, he
stuff
definitely
like that.
intended
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that's
100%.
okay.
I'm friends with Jordan
That's
Peele,
true.
and
Yeah.
he
You're
told
actually
me
Keegan Michael Key.
I am Keegan Michael Key, and I said, "Do you have a part for me in Nope?" And he said, "Nah." Sorry, buddy.
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I'm glad that normie basic folks are loving it and making them feel like they're into like cooler films because of it.
Yeah, I also actually appreciate that element of it too.
Yeah.
I'm happy that people like it so much, and that it might be the kind of like, the like weird movie that like people who don't watch a lot of movies like. At the same time, too, it has become kind of annoying people talking about it. But
That happens.
I gotta say I do like that one quite a bit.
Banshees of Inisherin.
Mm-hmm.
It was great to see a good Martin McDonagh movie again. We
Yeah.
kind of spoke about it last time. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I saw it in like this interesting theater called the Nighthawk in Brooklyn.
Oh,
and they like serve you food. It was an interesting theater experience. The food was kind of shit, but it was a neat experience regardless.
Yeah, you had the Inisherin fries.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a potato.
Not cooked.
No, it's a raw potato.
Emily the Criminal.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if there was going to be one that I hadn't seen. I haven't seen that.
I like Emily the Criminal. This is a big year for Aubrey Plaza.
Yes.
Between this and season 2 of White Lotus, which if we could have included mini-series TV shows, that would have been up there too. That was so. Let's say both.
I should have told you that you could have. Sorry.
Emily the Criminal and White Lotus season 2. Just had enjoyed watching it. It was engaging, and I liked it, and I thought it had some interesting things to say, and just a solid, good film. Like one of those like Sundance Film Fest core ones, but I feel like that actually delivers on some of its promises.
That's awesome. I'll check it out.
And my favorite film of 2022 that came out in 2022, I have some other. I have like a bunch of old movies that I've seen this past year that I thought were good. I'll rattle off some of the honorable mentions or stuff. This is not an honorable mention. This is a garbage film. Matilda the musical.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It was like okay, but then like the kid they get to play Bruce Bogtrotter, the kid who has to eat the big chocolate cake. It's like some skinny kid, but they put him in a fat suit. They give him like a belly. He looks pregnant.
That's
it's so
terrible.
stupid.
That's awful.
I got to give a shout out to Avatar because I thought I would hate it and I didn't. So
yeah, I see you.
Similar, since last we spoke, I watched Elvis.
Oh yeah,
that movie rocks. Yeah, it does rock. Like probably Baz's best film. And
undoubtedly.
A lot of, and I was like, I wrote in my Letterboxd review, like if you're gonna do one of these like big boring legacy act biopics, might as well go like full fucking throttle. You know what I mean? Like 500 miles per hour.
Make it entertaining.
Have like a weird CGI like roulette table sequence at the beginning.
He's white. That's the thing. He's white.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
I had some fun watching Smile in theaters.
Yeah, I took my cousins to Smile, traumatized them.
Turning Red was a cute Pixar movie.
Love Turning Red.
And like one of the least convoluted ones in a while.
Very good. Very good. Toronto, baby.
Morbius. Obviously.
Yeah. Did you actually watch Morbius?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even do it.
Oh, you haven't watched Morbius yet?
No, man, I should've.
That's another one you haven't seen.
I know.
This garbage teen comedy film called Do Revenge, which is like Strangers on a Train crossed with Heathers.
I don't think I heard about that.
It's not very good.
Okay.
Don't Worry, Darling sucked. Anyway, let's get to my favorite film of 2022 that I saw in 2022. Are you ready for it, Ben? I think you know what it is. We've briefly spoken about it.
Yeah.
It's Clerks 3.
Clerks 3? Your favorite movie of 2022?
Yeah. Was not expecting, such a gut punch and heart-rending ending to the Clerks saga, but...
Yeah, of course.
It's got to be Clerks 3.
Is that...
No, it's not. It's not actually Clerks 3. It's a Skinamarink, which I saw the other day at the review in theaters.
I wish I actually... regret not seeing it in theaters.
It was a great way to see it. You might have heard about it. It's this Canadian horror film from Alberta.
You're forgetting it's Canadian.
Yeah. From Edmonton, I believe. This guy shot in his childhood home in Edmonton.
Kyle Edward Ball.
Yeah, and it's just about these two kids who wake up in the middle of the night and the doors and windows to their house are gone, their dad's gone, and they just kind of wander through this house as spooky things happen, but it's shot like it's like you never get a full-on like shot of the kids. It's always at weird angles or like from the knees down, and it's just angles on the house and stuff. And it's a totally, I don't know. It's more like, it's one of those movies that's like more like an experience, like seeing it in theaters. If you can't see it in theaters, like I would recommend like doing a marijuana if it's legal wherever you live and watching it late at night past your bedtime, turn the lights off.
Yeah. Maybe even a mushroom or an LSD if it's legal too.
If you, like it, I think it really captured that like childhood nightmare feeling of waking up in the middle of the night and like the house is like your enemy kind of thing.
Yeah. And then, you're too afraid to cross the hall to go pee in the washroom or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was like it's kind of like a mean movie. Like it's not like afraid to like the kids aren't going to wake up from this nightmare. You know what I mean?
No, certainly not.
And I've read readings of it online where people are like they're in like purgatory and it's like
The kid
limbo
fell
and
down the
stuff.
stairs
Yeah.
and he's dying
And that's cool too.
Sure.
I had my partner, she's a therapist. She's also a giant fucking woos and would never go like see something like this. But because there are moments that are genuinely creepy and the overall effect is super creepy.
Yeah, there are a couple of jump scares that I think are kind of like maybe less effective, but they are very scary and they're very loud.
And they're more earned.
They're more earned, but I think they function almost better as like sort of like a reset or something, or like a chapter stop or something like that. The scariest moments for me were like when like because of the way that it's filmed, they're shooting into darkness, like down a dark hallway, but there's so much grain that like when you're looking down the hallway and you're not sure if something is there or if something is supposed to be there or you're supposed to be looking at something and you're just seeing this kind of swirling sort of grain. And your brain plays tricks on you. You're starting to like sort of invent things, and like when you're staring at a blank wall or something, and you know, and my God, like there's some of those moments like when the kid is called upstairs to the bedroom,
come upstairs
when his mom is there or whatever. I was so on edge.
It's totally just like a cursed internet video, but blown out to feature length, you know, with distorted audio and like this distorted visuals and these weird angles. Like it's total meme core kind of, but like I'm into it. I like it. And I like the influence that world had on like that movie that we saw, We're All Going to the World's Fair. Like I'm here for this like internet savvy creepypasta genre of horror.
Yes.
But
reminiscent films of each other, I think.
I think it would make a great double feature.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to so my partner's a therapist. She tells me a lot about different modalities. I started kind of doing this therapy called parts work, IFS and parts work, where it's like, you know, we're all just like wounded children on the inside, and a lot of like
Not
our
me.
worst. Yeah, you're really like you got your shit together. If there's one thing about Ben, it's that he's got his shit together.
He knows. I know what I'm doing.
But it's like you're talking to the wounded children instead of like scorning them or like trying to like I need to get rid of those habits or something. It's like why do you do them? Why are they there? Like they're there to protect you probably. I had one session where like the therapist actually had me like, this is trippy. It was like visualize myself like in my childhood neighborhood and getting on like a bus and seeing like my like 8-year-old self on the bus and like sitting next to him and being like, hey, like where do you want to go? You want to like. And I had this experience where like I basically went on a date with my like 8-year-old self, like a play date. And it was like kind of affirming because, you know, you think about your childhood sometimes really negatively. And through that experience, I was like, you know, there were negative, stressful aspects, but like my inner child basically told me, you know, like it wasn't all bad, man. Like, you know, let go of like you had some fun too. I was like, But so watching that movie after having recently kind of done some parts work, like I totally think it is. I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Kyle Edward Ball got into some of this therapy as well, because the two kids' names are Kaylee and Kevin, and his name is Kyle. So I feel like it's a representation of like, you know, our inner children and how I won't spoil anything, but how we seek to silence them.
Yeah.
And there are things in the movie that kind of involve silencing.
More explicitly,
or
like,
Sure. So
that's really interesting.
It was it gave me, I was watching it with that lens, and maybe I'm projecting it onto it, but I don't care because it made
That's
it a
fine.
more,
Why not? Yeah.
it made it a more impactful experience for me. And that's why Skinamarink is my top film of 2022.
Well done. Very well said. I mean, Skinamarink is, okay. Oh boy.
Ben has like a scroll. We've got time because there's a big chunk that we're going to cut out.
Who cares? Yeah.
Ben's got a scroll that he has to unfurl.
Yeah. Jeez Louise. I watch a lot of movies. It was a weird year. I don't know. Let's not talk about it. I've got a top 20 and then I have 20 further movies that I liked.
Yeah,
and
go for it.
On the 20 further movies that I like, Skinamarink is on there.
Okay.
And I'll just say, like, I've read a little bit about it. And even watched a couple of terrible video essays because I do really
those.
When you watch a movie like that and you know there is kind of an instinct like not to further understand it because I think I understood it, but I always think it's funny to watch like those videos that are like Skinamarink explained, ending explained, or like 12 things in Skinamarink you missed.
I watched one and it was like, you guys are not more like. They were getting some facts wrong. They were like, and then the little like boy does this, and I was like, that was actually the girl.
Yeah, idiot.
Yeah, like you're not an authority. You're no more an authority on this than I am. You
exactly.
But it is fun. Like it is like a fun thing to do.
Yeah, well, it's a whole industry, I guess. So like, all the power to them.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get in on it.
Yeah, we're totally getting in on it. But yeah, I just want to say that I think that was a really that sort of therapeutic like angle of it. I don't think I've necessarily come across. So that's really interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, I'm going to patent it, and we're going to clip this and put it on YouTube and get Skinamarink Explain on a podcast.
Yeah, great. I don't even know how to go through this.
Do the 20 ones you'd like to mention that didn't make the core list first.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are listed alphabetically.
I'll weigh in if I've seen any of them.
Yeah, weigh in if you've seen any of them, and I'll say a sentence here or there if you haven't. Armageddon Time. No. I like James Gray a lot, and I was excited for this one. I don't think it like fully works 100%, but I was really impressed by especially the like main kid's performance. I think his name is Banks Verpetta, and I have a best performances list, and so he would be on there. I'm not going to bring him up again. He's I don't want to pad this kid's ego or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I really bought into it. And again, like without getting into it too much, I guess we're going to be here forever when I do this, but well, that's all I'll say. I think it's a very good drama that's smart and made for adults, and that the kind of thing that's like rarely seen these days.
Yeah, I'm sold.
Even if I think it falls into a lot of the same traps as the movies that it's clearly trying to be a better version of, which are sort of like movies about privilege, white privilege, in particular. The Banshees of Inisherin, which you've talked about.
Yep.
Really great. Martin McDonagh, he's back.
He's back, baby.
He's back in Ireland,
he's back.
where he belongs.
Marty's back. Oh,
Marty's
thank
back.
the Lord.
Bones and All.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, man.
I bet it would be on my list if I'd seen it, but
I don't know. Like, I was kind of surprised. I didn't know a whole lot about it. And I think as far as like, I didn't know before that it was a young adult novel adaptation. And hearing that after, it makes perfect sense. But I think it's got to be one of the best like young adult novel adaptations probably
I gotta
ever.
see it. I will see it. Yeah.
I don't even think it's like again a lot of these movies have flaws. The ones in this bottom, the ones in my top 20, no flaws.
Yeah.
But Bones and All, lots of really good stuff. I guess I shouldn't try to spoil these movies for anybody, so I'll try not to do that. But there's a scene of young Timothée Chalamet in a cornfield that scene of the year.
I love Lucas, so I will watch it. I promise you.
The Cathedral, the Ricky D'Ambrose movie, New York filmmaker who made an independent film called Notes on an Appearance that I remember coming out, but I didn't actually watch it. So I caught up with that and was impressed. Maybe it didn't necessarily like it. It's kind of a hard movie to like, but I was really curious to see this. So I went to the MDFF screening in Toronto in late December, and again, just like the kind of movie that I think a lot of movies on this list are very singular in what they're trying to like inform in content. And I think this is one of those, right? There really isn't anything else quite like that, and it's just kind of like a childhood memory piece that was very different from my own childhood experience, but no less affecting in just the way that it like has this handle on these events that happen around you as a kid that you don't fully understand, and then when you grow up and you look back at them and you sort of have this kind of uncanny feeling about them, like I was there and I was related to this, but I don't really, you're viewing it as an outsider as well. Another childhood movie, Catherine Called Birdie, the Lena Dunham film. Lena Dunham made 2 movies this year. And Sharp Stick's not on this list, but I liked both of her movies, and I like Girls a lot. Not all of it. Like, it's a very frustrating show. And I think anybody who's a Lena Dunham fan or has followed Lena Dunham's life, she's a frustrating person just in general. Like, just go to her Wikipedia page and remind yourself of all of the awful things she's done. But my God, it was just such a fun, family film that I think is I got to speed this up, eh? Oh man. Okay. All right. I'll be a little faster than that. Elvis. Hey, baby. Hey. Nothing wrong with that.
Great movie.
Yeah. Go down to Riley's, get a fried banana sandwich. Just go to the wild world. And it's just lines from Wild at Heart now.
Yeah.
This here snakeskin jacket is a symbol of my blah, blah, blah. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Hey.
Saw it early. Saw it before the hype, before the cringe, before all this stuff, right? I had a really good time with it. I haven't seen it again. I don't really want to see it again.
Yeah.
I think I would probably like it less. But all I'll say is when I saw it, I was very impressed. I really enjoyed it.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, it's a fun time. I think Michelle Yeoh and Ki Hui Kwan are both really good in it. And I don't really know much. I mean, what do you say about that movie? It's very well could win Best Picture, which I think would be very bad for it, because then all of the crazy people about nerds are gonna go nuts, and all of the cringy hater guys on Twitter are gonna go nuts, and it's not gonna be productive for anybody.
No.
The best thing to win Best Picture would be The People's Joker, which we'll come to later. Flux Gourmet, Peter Strickland movie. I really like Peter Strickland. Yeah, it's not one of my favorites of his, but like pretty much anything he does, I'm in the bag for it. So,
which is your favorite of his? Mine's Duke of Burgundy.
Yeah, it's probably Duke of Burgundy. Yeah, cool. I really like Barbarian Sound Studio just because that was the first one I saw. But Duke of Burgundy, I think, is probably his best film. Yeah,
we're in agreement.
What else do I got? I got Is That Black Enough for You, which is a Netflix documentary, which is directed by the film critic Elvis Mitchell, and it's like over 2 hour kind of like look of like Black American film history, which is done. And I really like these types of like film history documentaries, particularly ones that are made by directors who don't normally work in documentary or film critics. And this is just like, it's like a film school in a box sort of movie. Oh, cool. And it's extremely entertaining. Obviously it can't cover everything, but it does a really good job of like going through history of like Black American cinema, independent, blaxploitation, all this other sort of stuff, horror. Yeah, I wish it was like, there were like 10 of these every year, because they're so easy to watch and they're so entertaining. And I think Elvis Mitchell, I hope he does something else, because like this was such a great vessel for his criticism. Moving on, we got Kimmy, Steven Soderbergh, who we're going to be talking a lot about in the upcoming Magic Mike series.
Next week, watch Magic Mike.
Kimmy, it's like one of those pandemic movies, but you know what? It's not annoying, and it was fun, and I like Kimmy a lot. I'm really, we're going through it. We're good. Okay, Mad God, the Phil Tippett stop motion magnum opus. Phil Tippett is this special effects guru, stop motion guy who worked on Jurassic Park and RoboCop, a lot of Paul Verhoeven stuff, and he's been working on this stop motion like masterpiece for years, and it finally came out, and it's absolutely disgusting and goopy and awesome and like total like metal core like movie.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's a one you could do a marijuana and watch.
Oh, nice.
Rob Zombie's The Munsters.
No
I
way.
thought it was really good. Yeah,
check that out.
It's just really funny and sweet.
I've seen most of Mr. Zombie's films.
Well, then you'll know he loves his wife, and
yes,
he made a
Sherry
whole
Moon.
movie. He made a whole movie about how he loves two things: Number 1, his wife, and number 2, the Munsters. And like, I don't know, man, very cool. Yeah. Celine Sciamma's Petite Maman.
I started watching that on a plane, but I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to finish this on a plane.
It's so
I want
short,
to watch
though.
this.
Yeah,
I wanna
it's
watch
not a good
it,
plane movie.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very quiet. Plane movies, you need something really bombastic, right?
And you fall asleep to them
Yeah.
sometimes, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, Petite Maman, aka Little Mama,
Hey,
which I think
Little
is
Mama.
Hey Little Mama. They should have marketed it as Hey Little Mama. Again, yeah, great movie. Like I like Portrait of a Lady on Fire a lot.
Yeah, she rocks.
And Petite Maman, it's very funny. It's very melancholy. What if you could go back and meet your little mama?
Hey,
Love it.
little mama.
Hey.
Take her out for a fried banana sandwich.
What if you could go back in time and take your little mama out for a fried banana sandwich? Return to Seoul, which is a movie that I don't think is released yet, but I saw it at TIFF.
Fancy boy.
Fancy Boy, yeah, during the festival. Really great, I guess, like French, Korean movie. The central performance by Ji Min Park is definitely one of these like kind of like A Star Is Born sort of performances, where I don't know when it comes out. I hope that there's a lot of publicity about it because she's so good in this movie in a really like tricky role about like your identity and like being searching for your birth parents, cross cultural sort of stuff that. I don't know, just really affecting, really, really entertaining movie, all sort of centered on this like really fantastic performance from her.
Right on.
Skinamarink, we talked about it. Stars at Noon, the Claire Denis movie. Movie that is kind of hard to like at first, and then you're like, it's just about a bunch of fucking idiots, hot idiots having sex, and like in Nicaragua, like a little bit of intrigue. I didn't I wasn't able to see her other movie, Both Sides of the Blade. I really wanted to see that before that. I'm sure it would have been on this list, but just for you Denis heads, I'm sorry I didn't get to that. 13 Lives, one of the most surprising movies of the year. The Ron Howard movie.
The Thai rescue.
About the Thai cave rescue.
Yeah.
Really good.
Right on.
Shot by a Pitchipong Weerasethakul cinematographer, which so it looked amazing. There's a lot of really good underwater photography in it. And some really great performances from Viggo Mortensen and Colin Farrell in a totally different to the types of characters they regularly play. I saw that someone called it like Ron Howard in late period Clint Eastwood mode, and it's very much like that. Like this, really, really good, like not fussy, very straightforward procedural about a real life incident where it's like people who are really good at their jobs, like getting it done.
Way of Water also had some good underwater stuff.
Hey, baby. Metcaina.
Turning Red, we talked about it.
Yeah.
Great. Pixar, Toronto. The United States of America. That's a country. That's not a movie, Ben. Well, you're wrong. It is a documentary from the great American documentary
Have you
filmmaker.
lost your goddamn mind?
James Benning.
Andrew
who
Callahan.
I like. Yeah, well. James Benning, who I really like. And the United States of America was, again, it's not out yet. When it comes out, whenever it's available to see.
Fancy fucking boy.
Go see it. Don't read anything about it. Don't listen to me talking to you about it. Just go see it. It's a documentary. It goes state by state throughout the
that's cool.
the United States, and it has a little clip, little bit of footage from each state.
That's awesome.
That's all I'm going to say. And then finally,
trust
the Woman King, which I think was like
Gina Prince
Bythewood, who I like her other movies. I like
Love and Basketball is so
Love and
good.
Basketball is really good. And so I went to see it because of her, but I also was curious because they were marketing it as this like throwback to like 90s, early 2000s style epics. Like they were like, oh, it's Gladiator, it's
cool.
Braveheart, and so on. And I thought, well, that'd be funny. Like, I wonder if it actually has a feeling like that, and it totally does.
Oh, cool.
It totally feels like in for better or for worse. Like a lot of people were attacking this film on a historical sort of reasons, right?
Sure.
And just like Braveheart and Gladiator, like it just plays fast and loose with it. It doesn't really care, but it has everything. Like it has like, you know, like it has like a bad guy who has like bad guy theme music and gets his own special death, and like a secondary bad guy, you know, and like all of this amazing cast of characters. In particular, I think like Viola Davis is very good in it, but in particular, Lashana Lynch was kind of like the MVP of that movie. Really, really good performance. Extremely charismatic. And
I do want to watch it because I love Miss Blythewood.
Yeah. Wow. So
those are the 20 films that you were like, hey, pretty cool. Let's get to the 20 films Ben's really passionate about.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
This is entertaining content, right?
We love it. We trust your recos. You don't have to sell them as hard, if anything. You could just trust that we trust you.
Yeah, I'll just trust that you trust me. I should have. Now I'm going to go through the ones that I actually want to talk about, and I'm not going to. Yeah. I'll be a little bit more brief, maybe. Number one caveat: Memoria came out, the Apichatpong Weerasethakul movie. It got kind of a weird release, so I don't really know. Like, is it 2021? Is it 2022? Doesn't matter.
That's okay.
Really good movie.
You liked it.
I liked it. You'll like it too.
What's it about?
What's the
log line?
The log line. Tilda Swinton. She's in Colombia. Her sister's sick. She's hearing noises. What's the noise? That's the log line. What's the noise?
Ben, I'm sold.
Yeah. I'll tell you what the noise is. I'll tell you what the noise is off mic, because the answer, Memoria, ending explained, might surprise you. Okay. Again, alphabetical order. After Sun.
I want to see that.
British movie. Amazing directorial debut from Charlotte Wells. Paul Mescal, one of the performances of the year. Really sad. Great sad dad movie. I like
really
sad dads. If you like sad dads, this is like the ultimate sad dad movie. You are kind of a sad dad.
Sad stepdad.
Sad stepdad. All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. Great documentary from Laura Poitras, who made Citizen4, about Nan Golden and her activism in the opioid crisis against the Sackler family. Highly recommended.
Yeah, I gotta check that. Citizen4 really was great. So
Citizen4 is great. Yeah. Featuring Glenn Greenwald before he went crazy. Benediction, which is a Terrence Davies movie I really wanted to see. I missed it in theaters, so I actually had to catch. It was the last movie I saw for this list. I watched it yesterday, and it made me cry, and so it immediately goes on the list. Kind of like I like all his movies, like this sort of memory kind of folding into itself. A story about Siegfried Sassoon, a British poet who fought in World War I. Crimes of the Future, disgusting. Earman on lunchboxes all across Canada. Everyone has Earman fever.
I like that in the movie. They're like, Earman's a hack.
Earman's a hack. The reveal. So Neon, like having Earman being a big part of the promotional materials, and then the line of the movie where you see Earman and then Viggo's like, like his ears don't even work.
Yeah.
Like that was maybe the hardest. Like not the hardest I've laughed at in the moment, but the more that I think about it, it's so funny.
Yeah, it's
it
good.
keeps coming back. Decision to Leave, Park Chan-wook.
I need to see it.
Amazing movie, amazing performance from Tang Wei. Yeah, I don't know, really funny. Like
people are gonna see that.
People are gonna
Park
see that.
Chan-wook.
You're gonna see. You don't need me to tell you that it's good. There's a couple of these that you don't even need me to tell you that it's good. The Eternal Daughter by Joanna Hogg.
Oh, I do want to see that.
Yeah, really good.
I want to see that.
I like the Souvenir movies. You should watch the Souvenir movies first. They're not. It's not.
I've only seen part one. I need to
definitely see part two. Yeah, because I'd only seen part one, but I caught up with part two and really enjoyed it. And The Eternal Daughter, I thought, was really interesting. Great performance from Tilda Swinton, who is seemingly now, giving a lot of good performances all of a sudden. She's kind of lost in the desert for a while there, but she's back, baby. Dual performance as her mom in the movie as well. Really, really good Tilda Swinton performance.
Love dual performances.
The Fabelmans. Loved The Fabelmans. Only a few of these have I seen multiple times, and The Fabelmans is one I saw twice.
I need to see it.
I really liked it. I saw it at TIFF with my parents. We had a good cry. Steven Spielberg was there. He winked at me. I think. I'm pretty sure. We were really far away from him, but I'm pretty sure he did. Great movie.
Great filmmakers out there.
Yeah.
And then he looked right at you and winked.
Yeah. Sammy Fabelman. Yeah, what is there to say about it? Like, it's Spielberg, right? I think it's one of his best movies, actually, the more I think about it. Funny Pages. You're really going to like Funny Pages, Alex.
I haven't seen it.
Funny Pages, Owen Klein, really great, I guess, like in this sort of tradition of like American independent movies. Feels kind of like has kind of a Cassavetes feel to it, I guess. It's kind of a dumb thing to say, but, about like coming of age, a kid who's coming of age, like aspiring to reject all the everything about his parents and their sort of comfortable upper middle class life. He wants to go live in the big city. He wants to become a comic book artist in the underground comics scene, and he befriends this guy who used to have a job in the comic book industry, but is like very clearly mentally ill and has a lot of problems. And it's just like, it's really funny. A lot of great character actor bits and pieces in there. A lot of beautiful people on display. The types of beautiful people that Hollywood tends to ignore in their films. And one of the funniest movies of the year.
Oh,
absolutely.
I gotta check it out.
You're gonna really like it. Speaking of funny movies, Jackass Forever.
Did I not mention Jackass
I don't
Forever?
think so, but there you go. It'd be
Oh
on
my
your list
God.
too, right?
I meant to. It was in my top 5. It was in my top list. Yeah. Jackass Forever. I unironically think the Jackass films are masculinity themed performance art.
100%.
They're good.
They are good. Jackass collection coming to the Criterion Collection.
I could see a future where that does happen eventually.
Someday.
Yeah.
Jackass Forever was awesome. It's hard to say.
It was like my first movie back in theaters in so long, and it was a riot.
Yeah, I think it was one of mine too. And I saw it with my partner at the time. We did a Jack Astor's Jackass Forever
I love
double
that.
bill. Yeah,
You
which
should
was
have
good.
invited me so I could third wheel.
I probably should have. Yeah, I apologize. Jackass Forever, like, listen, you're either going to watch it and love it, or you're just not going to watch it, right? Nobody's just going to stumble into watching one of those movies, are they?
Because some people aren't into performance art.
Yeah.
Which it is.
And I think, one of the great joys of 2022 was seeing Danger Aaron get his nuts stomped on and slap shotted at.
His nuts deserve an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Like,
it's so good. Like,
they get put through the ringer.
Yeah, and you one really truly does love to see it. In specifically about Danger Aaron.
The disregard for the male genitalia was almost like subversive in a way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like,
no, 100%.
this thing that we hold sacred, and guys love their dicks, and it was just like, let's put our dicks through like 120 days of Sodom.
Yeah,
let's fuck our dicks up.
Yeah, I loved it. Really impressive stuff.
Transgressive.
Yes. Coming up, also a comedy, but I think in a kind of a different direction. Magic Spot. Magic Spot is from Motown Media, Matt Farley and Charles Roxburgh. I've come to my attention, I guess, mostly through the Important Cinema Club podcast, Justin DeClue and Will Sloan, who have sort of championed their work and wrote a book about them. I don't remember exactly where they're from in the United States, but they're like regional filmmakers who have made movies like for ages now. Just them and a couple of friends getting together. It's kind of like what we should be doing, right? It's like that sort of thing.
We're gonna get to it.
We're gonna get to it. No, that wasn't a criticism.
No,
it's more
I
of
know,
like
I know.
Yeah, it's more of like these are the kind of movies like these are the sorts of movies you watch and you're like not because they look easy to make, because they're definitely not. It's a very particular tone that they're able to hit and maintain. But they're the kind of movies that you think like
they inspire you.
They're totally inspirational. Like these guys have just got together and with friends and family and whoever else and have sort of built this, like, I guess, little like community around their movies and their music. And these movies are so funny. Okay. Like Don't Let the River Beast Get You is kind of their big, probably their most famous one. Which I saw for the first time, I think also actually this past year. I'm only recently getting into them, but my God, like Magic Spot is such a warm and funny movie. It's kind of like genuinely fun for the whole family. And I think it's the kind of thing that might, without a recommendation, it's the kind of thing you might not come across at all, or you might come across and say, well, I don't really know what this is. This looks like unprofessional, or this looks like cheap or whatever. And you couldn't be more wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get too much into it, but I will say it's on Tubi right now. You can watch it for free. Go watch it.
I just want to say to that, this awesome reco. I'll take it to note.
Yep.
Two things. One, it's even amazing that you're listening to us right now. Knowing Ben and I, it's a wonder that this is even getting out there and that we've been doing this podcast for as long as we have been.
Yeah.
And two, I hit your mom's magic spot the other night.
Hey, all right. Yeah. Whoa, man. Yeah. Smodcast. He, Kevin. I don't know. How does Schmoser sound again? Hey, man.
I've never heard him speak.
Yeah, you're right. All right. That's the first half, baby. We're flying through it.
This is the top 10.
We got a bit of time to fill. We're good.
I'm not worried about it.
We're going to keep going.
Yeah.
This might be our longest episode yet. And you know what? Good. Okay. Going on. To the latter half of the alphabet. No Bears, the
I really want to
Jafar
see
Panahi
that
movie. Yes, really good. Panahi is somebody. His son released a movie, Hit the Road, which I unfortunately couldn't see in time. No Bears, I was really impressed with. I again haven't done my homework or due diligence here. I haven't seen a lot of Panahi's earlier movies that I guess, they're all sort of fall into this like fiction, docufiction hybrid or whatever. But I haven't seen a lot of those. I think the first time I really started to become aware of him was when he was banned from filmmaking and when he made This Is Not a Film, which is a movie I loved at the time. Haven't seen since then, but I followed up every now and again. I saw Taxi and a few of his other ones, but No Bears was my first time kind of going back into this, and probably the first contemporary Iranian film I had seen in quite a long time, other than maybe some of the Asghar Farhadi stuff. And I wasn't sure of it at first, but my God, like it's I think it's every bit as good as This Is Not a Film. Really impressive, really enraging and infuriating movie. So yeah, please go see it whenever you can. Nope, we talked about it. IMAX.
Yeah, I saw
Baby,
it in IMAX. Yeah.
so good.
The sound.
Yeah,
The chimps growls sounded really good in IMAX.
Gordy.
Yeah.
Nope is one that I saw twice as well. I wanted to see it again. Nope, I think is just like, I don't know. It sounds weird to say, but like maybe that's my favorite of all of these. I don't really think it is, but it's just the one that I think about the most. I think it's just like endlessly fascinating. It's so brilliant. Like, Jordan, I'm really stroking you off here. I just like, I'm so impressed by it. I think at the time when I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, okay, cool. And then it just like wormed its way into my brain. So a lot of movies will just like drop a little breadcrumb of an idea here or there, and it won't really cohere into anything. And that's a totally valid like way of making filmmaking, right? Tossing out ideas that are sort of half formed. We're not really going to explore this, but let's just suggest something, right? And I think like, I don't know. I think everything kind of comes together in this movie in a way that is extremely satisfying. Speaking of extremely satisfying, The People's Joker. We were there. We were the lucky few.
That's true.
That got to see The People's Joker.
It got struck down by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, and fuck Warner Brothers. Free The People's Joker, as we say. Absolutely phenomenal movie. Like, so funny. Probably the hardest I've laughed at any movie this year. Just like, and you know what? Maybe the funniest part about it is that, like, Vera Drew made a comedy, but she also made like an actually good Joker movie. Yeah. Like a really good, maybe like the best
Batman movie of 2022.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well,
Batman.
yeah. Like that Batman movie is fine, but like People's Joker is really funny and also tells like a really good comic book story too. Yeah. I was expecting to laugh, but I don't think I was expecting to be like emotionally affected by it. But it's like, it's genuinely like a really another beautiful trans coming of age story. And like, dude, I don't know. I really hope that it gets release,
Some sort of release,
and that people
yeah.
get to see it. Another movie that hasn't officially been released either, Queens of the Qing Dynasty, that I saw at TIFF, that I really, really liked. A Canadian film from Ashley Mackenzie. I guess maybe the less said about it, the better, except that I guess I'll just say it's about this interesting and unique relationship between these two characters, played by Sarah Walker and Zian Zhang. And I think two actors who, maybe at least in Zian's case, like aren't professional actors. And this is a totally like bewitching, unique movie that has these rhythms that are so unique that there's nothing like it that I'd seen before. And I was so impressed by the performances and by the tone that this movie captures and maintains. It's so interesting. I don't really know what's up with Canadian distribution. I don't know. It's not in the Canada top 10 thing where they get re-released at TIFF. I don't know when it's coming out, but like, I don't know. Canadian film is really weird. This was by far the best Canadian movie I've seen this year and probably in the past few years. I just, there's like nothing else like it. So please go see it whenever you can.
I haven't seen it. It sounds awesome, but that's two extremely unique Canadian films this year, that and Skinamarink.
Yeah. Canada stays winning.
Yeah.
Canada, #1 film industry in the world.
Don't sleep on it.
Something much more broad that I think everybody got to see, The Rehearsal. Now, is that a movie? Maybe not.
No.
Maybe it's not, but that doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. I've got another one that's like that. The Rehearsal. My God, like, come on.
Great.
Amazing. Nathan Fielder. He's untouchable. I don't know. The whole thing was great, but in particular, like that first episode is like so perfect.
Yeah.
With the specifically at the end when he's talking to the guy Core that he kind of wrangled into this whole thing, this whole mess, and then there's that one cut where it cuts back to Nathan, then it cuts back to Core, but then now it's the actor playing.
Yeah.
It's like, my God, like I don't know. I just thought it was really funny. It's like the natural progression of Nathan For You. And I think the idea of doing like Synecdoche, New York in real life is just like, I'm jealous I didn't come up with it. You know what I mean?
Nathan is goated.
He is goated.
We know this.
With
as
sauce.
the kids say, yeah.
Yeah. He's corked up sexual style. Speaking of corked up sexual style, RRR.
Oh, I need to see that.
Yeah, really, really good. I was
really,
fortunate.
really, really good.
Really, really, really good. I got to see this early on at the Albion Cinema in Etobicoke. Again, a recommendation from the Important Cinema Club guys. So thank you very much. And I wish I got to see it again in a bigger, like in a theater with like a lot of people there. I had to go to a matinee, and I was like, "There's no one at the theater." So it's kind of like defeated the purpose of going to see it there. But we should actually make a trip out to the Albion Cinema sometime to see, because it's an amazing space.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyway, yeah. Again, like if I had, this is maybe a #1 pick because it's just, and I have one other #1 pick, which is maybe more the real #1 pick. Ooh. But not a movie I haven't come back to watch it again, but I loved it. I don't have to tell you why. It's energetic. It's really amazing, like action filmmaking and storytelling. Great performances. So much fun. Like the kind of movie that I told my parents to watch it, and it's like, well, are they going to watch like a subtitled movie? It's like 3 hours long. They did it. They loved it. And I think they both said this was the most entertaining like foreign language movie we had seen ever.
Okay, great.
So, okay, following that up, Russia, 1985 to 1999, Trauma Zone. Another kind of, I guess, docu-series. Adam Curtis's latest project. I love everything he does. This was no exception, except that it was really depressing and hard to get through. Usually I watch his stuff like all at once. This was 7 hours. And I watched it over like 2 months because it was like I was so
Right
upsetting.
on.
Yeah. Anyway, check it out. It'll maybe give you an idea of where Russia is and why it might be the way it is now, and it might also hint at some futures of where maybe the United States could end up. This sort of, false democracy and a country led by wealthy oligarchs who do not have your best interests at heart. Speaking of America, one of the great American films, Top Gun Maverick. Okay. My God.
That's your number one.
No, yeah, well, it's the one I saw 3 times in theaters.
Wow.
Including 4DX, which was a mistake. Terrible, terrible way to see a movie.
I hate that.
Top Gun Maverick, I don't know. Listen, I know it's the kind of movie that my first year international development studies brain would have been like, this is heinous. And you know what? That kid is right.
Yeah.
It is. It's but as far as military propaganda goes, mwah, spicy. I liked it.
I still haven't seen it.
What? It's
I'm
too
saving
late.
it for the franchise, for the pod.
Ah,
For the pod.
You had to see it
For
in
the
you
pod.
had to see it in the movie theater.
For the pod.
Anyway, really good. Again,
Oh.
one of the best uses of IMAX I'd ever seen.
I know what your number one is. Way of Water.
Yeah, Way of Water. Yeah, no, it's not Way of Water. No, I didn't like Way of Water. Top Gun Maverick, genius use of IMAX, where the screen will expand for when they're inside the cockpit. It's
Right.
amazing. And then finally, and also probably truly a number one,
Ooh.
which is convenient because it's the end of the alphabet. We're All Going to the World's Fair, which I did end up seeing twice.
That's a 2021 movie, isn't it?
But it was not released here until 2022.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's a few of those that are like that, like
Well,
Benediction as well, and a couple other ones, right?
Shout outs to that one too, then. 'Cause
Yeah,
that
definitely.
That one rocks as well.
Yeah, I really, really like that movie. There's been a lot of writing on it, obviously, but like, I think, I don't know why I put this away. I have more to say. I'm so sorry, but I have more to say. I think that's just similar to Skinamarink, like we talked about. It feels like a whole new type of movie making.
Yeah.
It feels like movie making that takes the internet seriously, as opposed to something like Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking about that.
This is a movie made by Jane Schoenbrunn, but made by someone who, like, obviously understands what the internet is like and what and the way that that specific type of media, the presentation and so on, has an effect on like young people, young alienated people who are questioning their identities. Again, unlike anything I'd ever seen before.
It made me think and reflect on like a lot of ethereal internet relationships that I've had with people throughout my years. And, you come across people and sometimes you develop like strange bonds over our phones or our screens and stuff. And then because it's the internet, people can disappear
just like that,
or come into it is cool how it captured that.
Yeah, and in a way that I don't think any movie really successfully has, or has even really tried to.
Well, like you said, like it was very clearly that, and like Skinamarink are very clearly made by people who are like internet savvy and not just like hacking is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm in your area. Okay. Very quickly.
Yeah, name some of your favorite performances.
Best performances. Like I said, there's a couple I've already mentioned, so I won't talk about them. Aside from Paul Mescal in After Sun, who I want to shout out again as the ultimate sad daddy. Similar sad daddy performance, more just sad. Jack Lowden in Benediction. And then Peter Capaldi plays the older version of him. Oh. Both performances great, but in particular, Jack Lowden, like, mind-blowing performance. Mentioned Tilda Swinton in Tang Wei. In Nope, Kiki Palmer and Stephen Yeun, amazing. But in particular, Daniel Kaluuya, I mean, he's obviously Get Out is like amazing, right? He's great in that movie, but he's so good in this movie. Yeah. And it's an example of like, I remember reading some reviews from people who were like, oh, well, he's not doing anything. It's not really a performance. It's like, dude, like, I think people are so people are so hardwired into thinking that a good performance is somebody who's like overacting or who is hitting these big emotional scenes, these Oscar bait scenes or whatever. Like that's what real acting is, man. Like he does so much with just one look of his eyes. Like it's amazing. He's so good in that movie. Yeah, totally. Nathan Fielder. Anna Cobb in We're All Going to the World's Fair. She's amazing in that movie.
But basically carries that movie on her own.
Oh, yeah, totally. Colin Farrell, Banshees of Inisherin,
So
of course.
good.
Also good in 13 Lives, but Banshees of Inisherin. Austin Butler in Hear Your Mama. Lashana Lynch. I mentioned.
Don't feed him after midnight.
Vera Drew gives a very good performance in People's Joker as well.
Can I just call you out for a second for blowing out my ears during the quality assurance when I was listening to it? And then you went, don't feed him after midnight.
It was kind of funny, though, right?
It was.
Yeah,
But
I know. It hurt me. I listened to it, too.
I pulled my earpods out and there's like blood caked on them.
I apologize to all the listeners.
It's okay. It was worth it.
It was worth it. And then The Fablemans, which has no shortage of great performances, including
David Lynch.
Scene-stealing David Lynch, Judd Hirsch. I think everyone's good. I mean, Seth Rogen is good. I think Michelle Williams is giving a really good, really tricky performance as Crazy Mommy. But the kind of low-key MVP in the background, Paul Dano, especially after his very silly performance in The Batman.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe that people were like, he's so good as the Riddler. And I was just like, he's just doing the thing where he talks and then he yells,
Yeah.
Gotham needs to change. And it's just like so.
I know. Well, the kind of opposite
Covered
of
in
that,
duct tape.
he's really good in The Fablemans
I will watch
as
it.
yet another sad dad. Most overrated, I got two movies.
Sad
Tar.
dad cast.
Yeah, sad dad cast. I think Tar very overrated. I didn't like it. But the thing is, it's not a bad movie. No, I don't think you could ever say it's a bad movie necessarily. It's just a movie that I don't think really worked for me at the time. I'd love to see it again. It's a really interesting movie, and I'm going to say the same thing about this other one, EO, which was a movie I was really looking forward to by Jerzy Skolimowski, who made Deep End, which I really like, and The Shout, which I also like. I was excited for both of these movies, and I completely see why people like them. But for one reason or another, they didn't really work for me. And then I became very bothered by how much everybody seemed to like them. So this is less about those movies and more about me.
I get that.
Yeah.
That was me with Get Out, honestly. I was just like, this is good, but like, let's...
Yeah. And I mean, any movie that gets that much...
Nope is better.
Right.
There, I said it. I don't
Nope
fucking
is
care.
his best movie, 100%. Yeah. I agree with you.
Fucking sue me. Fight me.
And very quickly, worst movies: The Bubble, Blonde, Thor: Love and Thunder, Jurassic World: Dominion, Pinocchio, the Robert Zemeckis version.
Oh, because if you said the Guillermo del Toro version,
Guillermo del Toro version was good. Triangle of Sadness, White Noise.
That's a hot take. You're gonna get some lash.
I actually
back.
don't think so, because I most people. Well, yeah, I guess I think Triangle of Sadness and The Square, Ruben Östlund's last two movies, I think are just full of shit. And Triangle of Sadness is like really dumb.
I haven't seen it, but I know a lot of like normies are seeing it. Like my ex roommate and his girlfriend saw it.
Did they like it?
They liked it.
There
and
you
a
go.
lot of like people talk about it like, oh, you gotta see it, it's so crazy. And it's just like, this is just like, they've been making movies like this a lot better for a long time, but it's just in cinemas that you don't go to.
Yeah, baby, right? You know what I'm talking about. But of course, it won the Palme d'Or, right?
Of course it
a
did.
lot of
That
people
guy
like
can't
it.
not
A lot of critics like it. I am putting it on the worst movies list is maybe a little disingenuous, but of me. But
you're trying to make a statement.
Well, I'm trying. Yeah, I'm making a splash. Similarly, White Noise, which actually the movie being released was the reason that I started and finished the book White Noise, which was really, really pleasurable experience. And I think I kind of ruined the movie for me though, because I think it's a really bad adaptation.
But you recommend the book.
But I love the book.
Can I borrow it?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Totally. Athena, I thought was also full of shit, and very similar to some of these movies. Like for example, when I say Jurassic World Dominion is bad or Thor: Love and Thunder is bad, it's like they're just bad, right? They're disgusting, awful products. When I talk about Triangle of Sadness and Athena is bad, I mean ideologically, fundamentally, I think they're misguided. You know what I mean?
Understood,
They're maybe better made. Like Athena has some really amazing cinematography in it, but like also no, because it's totally empty. And I saw a lot of people put that like that movie, and I think it's just so it's such a it's so fake. Fire of Love, I also really didn't like the documentary that maybe will win best documentary. It's the footage is amazing, but the whole construct they put around it I think is really bad. Clerks 3 is kind of a waking nightmare from which I will never recover. Scream,
better than
Scream
Cop Out
5.
though.
Yeah, Scream was bad. But maybe the worst of them all.
Clerks 3 better than Cop Out?
Yes. yeah. I don't know how that's possible. It sounds wrong saying that, but yes, it's better than Cop Out because it has like personality. Like Clerks 3 is, you can tell, is like made by a guy, like a weird guy named Kevin. And Cop Out is so anonymous and so nothing of a movie that it's like might as well not even exist. And finally, probably the one I hated the most, The Whale, just terrible. It's like shockingly bad.
I'm still gonna see it.
You gotta see it.
Yeah.
No, you totally gotta see it. I thought it would be bad because of like the depiction of the 600-pound Brendan Fraser character in it. I thought that's probably why I wouldn't like it. That it would be like insensitive or like thoughtless or like Darren Aronofsky is not a thoughtful guy. He's not like a, you know what I mean?
No, totally.
Like when it comes to these sorts of themes, like Requiem for a Dream with Drugs, or this with the idea of eating yourself to death, which is what I'm currently trying to do. The Whale, My Life a Movie, for real. The Whale is just like so I thought I was gonna hate it for that, but no, it's like I know it's a play that won awards, but like it feels like a bad high school play. And I was like, I cannot believe that this is the meat of the movie. Like this relationship with his teenage daughter, who is played by this actress Sadie Sink, who I mean maybe does a good job, but like that character, my God, it's like such a cartoonish idea of like of like the troubled teenage daughter. It's like funny. And so I was like, I should just leave. I actually thought about walking out, which I never do. I was like, I'm so tired of this movie, and it keeps going. But I finished it, and then I looked to my left and I looked behind me. Right? I think maybe I mentioned this on the podcast already. Did I? No, maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
People were sobbing. People like were really affected by this movie. They were sobbing uncontrollably.
That's beautiful.
At the end. Yeah. And so what do I know? You know what I mean? I know I just spent like however long like rambling about all these movies I like. Well, let me just tell you something. Like maybe I'm the one who's full of shit. Maybe all those movies suck. And maybe The Whale is really good. And maybe The Whale is something that you guys should all go see. Maybe it will affect you really deeply. And maybe you'll get a good cry out of it. You know what I mean? Maybe you'll watch Benediction and you won't cry a single tear. You'll think, this is some pretentious bullshit. And The Whale, and seeing Brendan Fraser be the real life cinematic version of I wash myself with a rag on a stick. You know, maybe that's what will affect you. So I think maybe is that how we should end the show?
Yeah.
Is like
Next week, Magic Mike.
next week, Magic Mike. But in the meantime, listeners, go and watch The Whale. Out of all those movies I just recommended, go and watch the one that I said is the worst movie of the year.
The literal pick for worst movie.
The worst movie of the year, The Whale.
Weird.
Go and watch it. And
You're just playing mind games with these people.
just like relax and make sure that you have a garbage bag full of popcorn and one more Simpsons reference. I just wanted to see Honk if I'm horny in peace.
And email us at thefranchiseespod@gmail.com and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Follow on Spotify, subscribe on Apple, do whatever it is on Google.
Yep.
We'll see you next time for our next franchise.
Magic Mike, baby. And in the meantime, I'm deadly serious. Whale sounds.
Yeah, close it with whale sounds.
We'll close it. We're closing this with whale sounds.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And they rock
they rock, through the sensual, ageless ages, on the depths of the seven seas. And through the salt they reel with drunk delight, and in the tropics tremble they with love and roll with massive, strong desire like gods.